What if I told you the cradle of global mythology wasn't in Greece or even Egypt, but on a single volcanic island right off the coast of Korea? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating academic presentation by researcher Choi Won-hyuk. We're going to be looking at some bold, paradigm-shifting hypotheses that position Jeju Island not just as a beautiful vacation spot, but literally at the very center of ancient human history.
I know, it sounds totally like something out of a fantasy novel, right? But researchers are actually uncovering surprising theoretical connections, suggesting that this specific island might serve as the ultimate hybrid point of contact for ancient global legends. We're talking about a massive cross-pollination of myths spanning entire oceans. Let's see exactly how this works.
So here is our roadmap for today. First up, Jeju's global roots. Second, ancient Sunderland. Third, Atlantis versus Jeju. Fourth, the legend of Seolmundae Halmang. And finally, the land of gentlemen.
Let's jump right into section 1, Jeju's global mythological roots.
You see, Jeju's stories aren't just quaint local folklore. They actually carry massive modern weight. Take Jeju's Shinwa world, for example. It's a staggering 970,000 square meter myth-themed development. To put that into perspective, that's roughly 130 soccer fields. With a total project cost of 185.5 billion won, breaking records for foreign investment on the island, this massive infrastructure really proves how deeply valued these mythological foundations truly are today.
But academics are tracing Jeju's myths far beyond the shores of Korea. Scholars are pointing out some absolutely startling global parallels. For instance, the framework of Jeju's creation myths actually shares distinct structural features with both the Bible and the Mayan Popol Vuh. We also see physical parallels, like the iconic Dolharhubung stone statues of Jeju, which researchers are linking all the way to the statues at the Beseki Temple down in Bali, Indonesia. And get this, it gets even more astonishing. Linguistic studies suggest that the archaic Korean language coincides in word order, pronunciation, and structure with Nahuatl, an ancient Native American language. Which brings us to section 2, the center of ancient Sunderland.
To even begin to understand how these far-reaching connections might be possible, we have to look deep into our geological past to a sunken world known as Sunderland. First proposed by the scientist Van Bemmelen back in 1949, this isn't fantasy, this is hard geology. During the last ice age, when global sea levels were drastically lower, much of Southeast Asia wasn't just a series of disconnected islands, it was actually a massive, continuous continental landmass forming the southern part of the Eurasian plate. Researchers propose this forgotten motherland acted as a sprawling ancient migration network. Think of it like an ancient superhighway. It might actually explain incredible historical coincidences, like why the Corral Pyramid in the Andes, which covers an area of 4 soccer fields and reaches 18 meters high, was built over 5,000 years ago, right around the exact same time pyramids were being erected in Egypt, literally thousands of miles apart. Could a shared ancient motherland have birthed these parallel global achievements? Let's explore that further in section 3, Atlantis versus Jeju mythology. When you place these sprawling ancient legends side by side, the overlaps are going to give you goosebumps. According to Plato, the famous lost city of Atlantis existed around 9,570 to 9,000 BC and was destroyed by a great earthquake and massive flooding. Now look at the Mago hypothesis links to Jeju. It proposes a civilization existing at the exact end of the last ice age, wiped out by the exact same catastrophic flooding of the continental shelf as those massive glaciers melted. While Atlantis is placed somewhere beyond the Mediterranean, the Mago hypothesis points to an Ice Age civilization bridging the Americas, Oceania, and East Asia. And you know, these Mago legends aren't just campfire stories either. They are codified in ancient East Asian texts like the Budoji. Researchers are rigorously analyzing these records right now to see if a real-world Ice Age civilization is actually the true ground zero for humanity's widespread global myths of massive floods and displaced ancient ancestors. Bringing this historical lens back locally, we have section 4, the legend of Seolmundae Halmang. The core outline of this Jeju creation myth is beautifully tragic. So the story goes that long ago, a giant creator goddess named Seolmundae Halmang built the massive Mount Halasan by carrying earth in her skirt and dropping it to create the volcanic cones all across Jeju. According to the legend, she offered to build a land bridge connecting Jeju to the Korean mainland, but she had one condition. The humans had to weave her 100 bolts of silk for clothes. Well, the people managed only 99.
Talk about a frustrating supply chain issue, right? Because they fell just one bolt short, the bridge failed, and she tragically drowned in the sea. But here is where the mythology hits hard geology. Modern academics believe this story is actually a localized cultural memory. Sealminde Halmang probably wasn't a literal giant, but likely a powerful female chieftain from the Ice Age. The story of her building mountains from Earth, that might be an allegory for constructing pyramid-like earthen mounds. And that failed land bridge? That was the literal continental shelf connecting Jeju to the mainland, which was swallowed up forever by the catastrophic rising sea levels of the melting ice age, taking her civilization with it.
Finally, this brings us to Section 5, the Land of Gentlemen.
By comparing these ancient texts and depictions, some researchers are putting forward hypotheses that completely rewrite the map. Some suggest that legendary figures from the Korean peninsula, like Dangan, the figure who established a capital in Pyongyang, might actually be the exact same person as the legendary Emperor Yao of ancient China. This completely blurs the lines of modern borders, hinting at a deeply shared, displaced ancestry stemming from that exact same post-Ice Age civilization.
This quote from the presentation by researcher Choi Won-hyak really captures it perfectly. Jeju is a hybrid. It's an island where the deep memories of sunken Sundaland, migrating peoples, and lost Ice Age cultures all crashed upon the shores. It is quite literally where the continent and the ocean meet, merging into the stories we still tell today.
All of this leaves us with one final, really profound thought to chew on. If a single island off the coast of Korea holds structural echoes of Atlantis, linguistic ties to the ancient Americas, and statues mirroring Indonesian temples, just how deeply interconnected is the ancient story of humanity? Perhaps our ancestors were much more united and much more traveled than history books ever dared to imagine. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the myths we take for granted, and I'll catch you next time.